画、私も参加してみたい。みんなに探してもらうがあるわ。金曜は大輔っ子だ。あれって私。
Hello, hello, hola, ciao, and bonjour, everyone. It's Mark. This is my recap for Pokémon Horizons episode 15, An Invisible Threat. Whozat? This was the 1247th episode of the Pokemon anime, and it featured Iono's debut in the Pokemon anime. So while I still have your eyeballs caught in my Electroweb, let's enter the Iono zone and talk about this episode. So the last episode ended off with Liko having her memories distorted and getting her pendant stolen by Spinel, so she can't really do her usual intro this time. Instead, we hear Liko's internal dialogue and discover that she remembers some things like her name, how she went to Indigo Academy in Kanto, and that she's now in Paldea again. Her phone, on the other hand, is completely scrambled, so it's pretty useless. No one can even get in contact with her. Sprigatito knows that it's Liko's partner, but the two of them can't remember what's going on. Liko starts to have the same reaction to when she first met Sprigatito and goes to pet it, only to get scratched in return. This brings back a faded memory of her first meeting Sprigatito, so it is possible for her to recover her memories. Over on the Bravasagi, everyone is wondering where Liko is and why they can't contact her. All they know is that she went shopping, and Dot calls everyone to say that there are reports of a girl with a Sprigatito in Artisan, which we know is nearby. As we'll see a lot in this episode, Dot is coming out of her shell. I mean, even just video calling the others is something we haven't seen before. Anyways, the group decides to head to Artisan, and Ludlow stays behind and gives us some sage advice. We get a scene of Spinel in his secret base. He notes that Liko's pendant has a lot of the same qualities as the crystal inside a Terra ore, but there's something more to it than that. For some reason, he hasn't just run away to go turn over the pendant to Master Gibeon, but he has sent his Behem to stand watch from the top of the windmill in Artisan, which is where most of the Rising Voltaclers are now. No one has found Liko, so she must not be in Artisan. Just then, Roy's Wattrel notices a Corvisquire flying away with some silverware, and Wattrel starts chasing after it, causing Roy to follow. This Corvisquire seemed totally random and completely unrelated to the plot, but I wonder if that was actually the case. Roy isn't the only one chasing his Pokemon because Sprigatito is running away from Liko again, just like at the start of their journey together. She's smart enough to get ahead of her Pokemon and catch it, and the two share a wholesome moment looking at the sun setting over Levincia, which causes another repressed memory to come back to them. Back with the Rising Voltaclers, they wonder if Liko could have been kidnapped, which upsets Dot. She wonders why there were so many sightings of a Sprigatito in Artisan before realizing that someone probably planted those reports to throw them off the trail. Everyone immediately suspects the explorers, but Freed knows that Amethio would have just attacked them head on. He divulges to the rest of the group that he did battle some mysterious Pokemon the other day without ever seeing their trainer, and the others rightfully question Freed about why he never mentioned this. Freed acts confused. I thought maybe he purposely didn't tell them about this encounter the other day, but maybe just being absent-minded is one of Freed's biggest character flaws. Anyways, the group figure out that whoever owns that Magneton must be the one who's been messing with their communication systems the past few days, and they realize that they've fallen right into their trap. Roy has finally caught up with his Wattrel, and this journey took them all the way to Levincia. How convenient. Again, I'm not sure if that Corvisquire that caused them to run here was purely coincidental or a subtle clue sent by someone else who wanted to help them. I don't know. Let's check back in with Dot, who is having a minor panic attack about this whole thing. She realizes that it's really unlike her to act this way, but I mean, it's pretty obviously because she's not used to caring about friends like this. That's an unfamiliar emotion for her. Dot tries thinking of new ways that she can help and comes up with a plan to use her Nidothing fame to spread the word about Liko. She calls someone and oh, here we go. Your eyeballs are mine as Iono comes in with tons of energy. She's happy to get a call from Dot and is surprised to see her outside of her Nidothing costume. Dot asks Iono for a favor and unsurprisingly, Iono is quick to try and get out of doing any of the work herself, but Dot makes it clear that this is about an IRL friend, which shocks Iono, and it was really cool hearing Dot admit that Liko means a lot to her. This is enough to convince Iono to help. They're going to need an idea that gets people's attention though, and we cut straight to Liko entering a crowd in Levincia, and they're all getting excited for a collab stream. Right in the middle of the city, Iono makes her grand appearance live on stream. She's joined by Nidothing, Yo-ssu, and Liko knows that Nidothing is her favorite streamer. Iono continues introducing the show, saying that they're gonna play a little game. This turns out to be really similar to Iono's gym test from the video games, as they're gonna have to find someone hiding in the street. Nidothing selects the target, one of her subscribers, Sprigatito Superfan. Yeah, it's Liko, and she is freaking out about being mentioned live on stream, especially since she's in the middle of this crowd of people who are all about to be looking for her. These two start to run for their lives, which upsets Dot because she thought she had already found Liko. Instead, Iono turns this into a game of tag, so now someone has to actually catch Liko, and Dot is not a fan of this. Iono doesn't care though, she knows this will help her stream perform better, and that's all that matters. Oh, looks like Nidothing left the stream. Yeah, Dot isn't thrilled about this turn of events, but at least she can get in contact with the rest of the Rising Voltaclers so they can and start searching for her, including Roy, who is already in Levincia. And then, in an absolutely shocking twist, Dot asks Free to take her to Levincia to help look for Liko too. Well, that blew me away, but now it's time to focus on Liko, who's on the run from the entire city. Ironically, she's trying so hard to run away because she thinks that's what Nidothing wants her to do, when in reality, Dot actually wants Liko to just stand still and get caught right away. Instead, Liko just savagely attacks these poor kids with Sprigatito's leafage. Okay, not really, she actually just uses it as a diversion to escape, and this brings back another memory of her running away with Sprigatito in the past. Liko evades some more random kids by having Sprigatito confuse them with Quick Attack, and while she keeps on running, we see that Freed has arrived to pick Dot up, and wow, is it weird just to see her outside of her room. Freed teases her about this, and Dot says that while this is a pain, she wants to find Liko, and she wants to get back at this person who tricked both her and her friends. Freed says that Dot may need a partner to battle with, and Quaxley shows up to support Dot. With that, they all head off towards Levincia together. They pretty quickly catch up to Roy, who's still looking for Liko, and even though this is his first time seeing her, Roy knows this is Dot, which shocks her. This was a subtle moment, but I thought it was an important one that showed Roy's character. He was able to tell this was Dot because of how close she was with Quaxley, and that just proves how strong of a connection Roy has with Pokemon. Freed leaves them to go fly around some more, while Dot tries to figure out where Liko is headed based off all the reported sightings of her. At this current moment, Sprigatito Superfan is running into a random building that has an open stairwell, and this leads her to the roof, where she can see the full moon. This brings back another memory, but not a distorted one. This is when Liko puts it all together and everything comes back to her. Liko's memory has been restored. Problem is that she's gotten herself stranded on this roof with a horde of people still chasing after her. She runs to the other side of the roof and realizes that there's a gap between here and the next building, but she thinks she can make the jump. Dot's plan worked. She's one step ahead of Liko as she and Roy appear on the roof of the other building. Liko and Sprigatito put their all into jumping off a skyscraper. Don't try this at home, kids, and the two of them land safely. Yeah, time for some awkwardness though, as Liko doesn't know this is Dot, so I guess Liko doesn't have that same sense that Roy has. This interaction gets interrupted by Iono of all people. She comes flying in to join them. She wants to interview Roy and Liko while Dot has to run off on her own. Iono is making things awkward by being as over the top as she always is, but Liko does introduce herself as Sprigatito Superfan, so the game of hide and seek tag is over. Iono tells Liko that she's lucky to have such good friends without actually mentioning that Dot, aka Nidothing, is the one she's referring to, but Iono throws it to Nidothing to wrap up the stream. We hear Nidothing's voice as Dot concludes the stream, even thanking Liko for her help, which puts a huge smile on Liko's face. We see that Dot is actually just around the corner, Nido yelling into her phone, confident that nothing can stop them when they work together. Iono laughs this off because who could Nidothing possibly be fighting? Little does she know about this whole Rising Voltaclers versus Explorers conflict. Then Iono gives the best advice I've ever heard, which is to subscribe. That's right, if you made it this far into the video, then your eyeballs are definitely trapped in my Electroweb, and the only way to get them out is by liking and subscribing, so just do it right now. Even Spinel has his eyes caught in Iono's Electroweb, but really he just makes a note of how the Rising Voltaclers aren't going away as easily as he first thought, but he doesn't exactly seem concerned about this in any way, shape, or form. Freed and Dot join back up with Liko and Roy, but Dot is pretty worn out from this whole being outside thing. Liko is just relieved that everything is back to normal, but when she reaches for her pendant, she finally realizes that it's missing. Freed puts two and two together that this must be because of the trainer with a Behem and Magneton, but somehow he's able to come to the conclusion that this person hasn't run away yet. I'm not sure how he is so confident about this, but whatever. They all decide to work together to get Liko's pendant back, and they start off the episode by doing the secret handshake, including Cap in the background, which was amazing. We still haven't had any bingo updates yet since we started the Elite Trainer arc Pokemon Horizons bingo game, but this episode did come close to having Liko find out that Dot is Nidothing, and it even came close to giving us a new Elite Trainer Mark persona. I was this close to creating Elite Trainer Iono and going all in on her outfit and catchphrases. However, much like Liko, I am a dedicated Nidothing fan first and foremost, so I have to stay loyal to them. Speaking of which, I think this episode made me fully realize that Dot is my favorite character in Pokemon Horizons. That's not really something I had been thinking about much prior to this point, who my favorite character was, since I liked all of them, but yeah, I just have this feeling after watching this episode that Dot is my favorite right now. And really, because of that strong feeling I got, I'm giving this episode an 8 out of 10 rating. I already feel like that's a little high. I mean, I doubt most people would rate this episode higher than the previous one, but these are just my opinions, nothing more, nothing less. So let's talk about Dot then. Easily the star of this episode for me, and we saw her make some big strides for her character throughout this episode. We have already been seeing Dot slowly come to terms with the fact that Liko is her friend, and that Dot cares for her, but this episode turned those feelings into action. And like I said earlier, I was shocked when Dot wanted to come outside and help. I mean, mean, it sounds like a silly and trivial thing to make a big deal out of, someone helping to look for their friend, but given the way Pokemon Horizons has characterized Dot so far and shown us her and Liko's relationship, it made this moment really impactful. It's also an interesting development seeing Dot use her Nidothing persona the way she did in this episode. I kind of thought Nidothing was just going to be the same bit over and over again, which was already entertaining enough for me, but now it's an actual plot device that Dot can use to help her achieve her goals. Again, another example of strong writing in my opinion. We also learned from Iono that Dot used to just be a fan, and this inspired her to start streaming, but according to Iono, she is still way more popular than Nidothing. Of course, this makes me think of the people that inspired me to start my channel, and it's weird because I actually have passed some of them in terms of subscribers already, which is kind of mind-blowing when I think about it. Maybe not quite as shocking, but still notable to me was when Dot accepted Quaxly as her partner. I'm sure I'm not the only one who just thought it was a given that Dot and Quaxly were already partners. I mean, they spend most of their time together already, but hey, it's always cool seeing a trainer form a strong bond with a Pokemon, so I guess we'll get to see Dot and Quaxly take that next step right in front of our very eyes. That is, if our eyes aren't caught in Iono's Electroweb, which is certainly possible after this episode. I thought Iono made for a great character, and I have no complaints about the way she was used. This was a great example of how the Pokemon anime can implement a gym leader into the story without it being based around a gym battle, and this opens up so many creative possibilities. Like, I don't know if this is just me, but I hardly have any desire to actually watch Iono battle in the anime. I'd much rather focus on her personality and streaming career, which is exactly what we got in this episode, and I loved it. It won't surprise me if we never really see Iono again after this story arc, because I don't think gym leaders are going to play that big of a role in Pokemon Horizons. They're cool characters, obviously, but since there's no requirement for anyone to battle them as part of the gym challenge in this series, well, there's also no reason for any of them to stick around for a long time. Since Nidothing and Iono are friends, we could see another collab stream sometime in the future, so it's definitely possible for Iono to return, but it just wouldn't shock me that much if we only saw her for an episode or two. Liko and Roy haven't really come up in this discussion yet, so let's touch on some quick points I had to say about them. The storyline of Liko and Sprigatito regaining their memories ended up being pretty basic, but heartwarming nonetheless. This entire episode was based around the characters themselves and the friendships they have together. And obviously Liko's already formed some strong friendships, or else she wouldn't have been rescued so quickly. As for Roy, I don't really have anything new to say, so I'll just reiterate the point I made about Roy being able to sense the connection between people and Pokemon. That's something that sets him apart and will make him a great trainer. Additionally, it seems really weird to me in retrospect that this Corvisquire just led Roy to Levincia seemingly as nothing more than a complete coincidence. I just really thought that this Corvisquire would play into the plot more, and maybe it will, we just don't know it yet. Or maybe it's just as simple as a Corvisquire randomly flying around with some silverware, and Roy's watch roll is easily attracted to shiny stuff. That could be all there is to it. Okay, on to the next episode, and you know I am excited about getting to see Dot in action some more. It looks like she'll continue to break out of her shell and even get to battle alongside Quaxly. We heard Dot say at the end of the episode that their assailant may have been stalling for time, and my guess is that Spinel was stalling for his backup to get here, and I bet these trainers are here to kidnap Liko. Why Spinel wants to remain secretive and not show himself, well, I don't have the answer to that question. I'm looking forward to whatever happens next week, and I'm also looking forward to hearing your thoughts down in the comments. Let me know what rating you'd give this episode, who your favorite Horizons character is so far, and your thoughts about where the story could be going from here. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I guess all I have left to say is hello, hola, ciao, and bonjour. I'll see you guys next time.